Okay, this time we're just gonna go right to it. Okay. You don't give me that look when you say okay.
Well, look, I'm just, I don't believe it.
You don't believe? Okay, Billy?
Yeah, oh, yes, Mr. James. You say that you're going to go right to it, and I believe that you actually will. But the truth is that you're already rolling, and so you're already about 20 seconds in, and you haven't gotten right to it.
Okay, guys, hey, Reginald, don't call me Right, James, right, yes. You are the type of guy, so like if I'm going to get right to the speak, because here's what happens. We say we're going to get right to the show, jump right in, have Mr. Announcer Guy come in and announce the show and all of that. But then something happens and I talk for like 15 minutes before we even do the intro to the show. Right. Why do you think that is? Well, I know why it is. Right. And why is that? Well, because, so then I start talking to Hank.
Well, don't start trying to pull me in on this thing. I don't know nothing. I just sit here. I push the button. I test the mic. Hello.
Stop it.
And then I push the buttons.
Okay, don't.
And I just do my thing.
Okay, this is like an intervention here, isn't it? We have to start the show and just start the show and just like get right into it. Right. And where is Mr. Announcer Guy? Well, yeah, I guess right. I guess Mr. Announcer Guy could come in and start the show every time.
Hey, man, don't get me involved.
Wait, no, come here, Mr. Announcer Guy, come here.
Yeah, man.
So, like, why don't I ever just start the show with just you just starting Ladies and gentlemen, it's the James Donatello podcast.
That's a really bad impression of me.
Look, I don't do impressions. Oh, I'm more of a voice double. But I can't double you. Anyway, we could have you just always on the standby. Maybe we should change it that way. I kind of think people like it, though, that it's this real kind of take that we hit record and then we just start going and I start talking to all of you here and then we get into the show. It's kind of a pre-show thing. I've always kind of done that. I did that on my old show, the JAT Show. You remember the JAT Show?
Yeah, that was really good. You only did 2 episodes. It was so good, you only got 2.
Hey, you know what? The thing is that show was ahead of its time, and you can see it on my YouTube channel, and it's called The JAT Show, and it's Tom Wilson, and I interviewed Tom, and it was very funny. And I'll do my Tom Wilson. You want me to do my Tom Wilson? It was very funny. James, we talked a lot. Okay, anyways. And then I had Jim Cummings on, a legendary voice actor, hero of mine. And we did 2 episodes. I never filmed more episodes because I ended up moving out of that studio. Look see, this is what happens. We're like 3, how many, Billy?
Oh, yes, sir, Mr. James. Yeah, we're at least 3 minutes into the show and counting. And you still haven't done anything because now you're rambling on about something that was on YouTube years ago that you don't do anymore.
That's right. But, so the podcast is more of a kind of welcome. I talk to all of you guys. After I talk to you guys, then we get into the show, and then I talk to everybody else.
Don't forget to drink water, man.
Oh, yeah, and then we got to drink. Okay, so yeah, and then Hank hit the Mr. Announcer Guy thing saying,
he's right there. Why can't he just do it?
He does it if you hit the thing, and then the music plays, and then he comes on.
But I think his voice is already pre-reminded on that.
Pre-recorded. How can you not even know pre-record? Just hit the button. Don't.
It's time to drink some water. That's good water.
That is good water. Okay, so let's just introduce the show and just get on with it, okay?
Nobody's arguing with you. You're the one that always just goes on and on.
I try not to, but I think it's fine. Right. I'm going to have to agree with Mr. Hank there.
Hey, Ray, way to go, Reggie.
Stop touching me. Don't do that. Stop it. I agree that you're not getting on with the show, and you don't really have an answer for that. I do have an answer. It's all of you. I spend all this time talking to myself. Oh, see, the show is called Talking to Myself, and all of you are me, and so that's it, and that's why people are listening, maybe. I don't know if anybody's listening at all. We are back for more for this season 4. We're in the middle of season 4, and we got this whole second half of season 4 coming. Very excited about that. And we had an episode that just came out last week, and we're going to have another episode here now, and then we'll have more to come. I have a whole episode of...
Dude, why don't we just get on with the announcement, and then you can do the thing.
Okay, all right. Hey, Mr. Man, you're right here, just right here. Just, you want to do the announcement? You want to announce the show?
Yeah, dude. Cue that music, Jerry the Music Man.
You got it, Mr. Announcer Guy.
Ladies and gentlemen, children of all ages, it's the James Arnold Taylor Podcast. Talking to myself, the JATcast. On today's show, Jat's gonna go on and on about a bunch of stuff because that's what he does.
Hey, come on.
And now, here he is, the same guy that's doing all the voices you're hearing, including this one, James Arnold Taylor!
Yeah, man.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, man.
Right. Okay, everybody. That's what we do. Thanks, Mr. Announcer Guy. Thanks so much.
You got it, dude. I'm going to go now.
Yeah, you should go. There you go. He should go. You know why he should go? Because I'm a little raspy today. I can only be talking like Hank. Hank, you and I ought to have an in-depth conversation in this episode.
Yeah, what are we going to do? We're going to talk about stuff? Okay, that's good.
Yeah, because your voice is about the only one I can do right now. We just got back from... Welcome, everybody, by the way, to the James Arnold Taylor Podcast. We just got back from Arkansas, and my voice, beautiful, wonderful, kind, lovely people in Arkansas. By the way, if you met me in Arkansas, thank you so much. We had a wonderful time in Arkansas. The only thing I will say is my allergies went crazy in Arkansas. My face blew up the first night. We get in, we flew in on Friday, and then we're there, and I'm noticing, see, this happens when you go to the Comic-Cons. It's a giant convention center. You're flying all day. You're in cars all over the place. You then go to your hotel, you check into your hotel, then you go to the convention center, and then you just do your thing. And so I think the show started at, let's say, 3 o'clock. I think it was 3 o'clock. We get there at 3, and Ashley and Matt and all of us were all there. And then we went till like 8 or 9 that night. And your voice, because you're so there's people, and God bless you all. So great that there's people there and everybody's coming up. And you just talk. You talk and talk and talk in this giant hall with, bad air conditioning blowing on everybody, and everybody's feeling it. And so your voice starts to kind of, and I'm drinking as much water as I can in between meeting people and stuff. And that's a whole dance. My wife and I, my lovely wife, Allison, who will be a guest on this show this season. She will end this season. You know that it's the end of the season for the James Arnold Taylor Podcast. When my lovely wife, Allison, comes on, it'll probably be a 2-parter because I'm imagining we will talk a lot because we've got a lot to say. It's going to be very exciting for you all to hear the perspective of my amazing, amazing wife and friend and best friend and compadre for the last 35, almost 36 years of my life that we've been together. We've been married 33 years, and it's going to be fantastic to talk to her. So anyways, her and I have this whole system, and then we'll have, so Molly was the guy. Molly was lovely. Molly was our helper at the show. Each show now, because Lydia is not there, my daughter Lydia is no longer helping us, we get assigned somebody who helps us at the show, and they ring everybody up, and they take the orders, and they do all of that stuff, and then they're the first people that you meet, and then it goes down the line from Allison over to me. And Allison just kind of sits in the middle and kind of makes sure everything's okay, that I understand what the quote is or the spelling of the names, if there's any problems, and making sure that I know exactly what the person is about to ask for, and I'm going to give them so I don't mess up, because she's my right hand and she tells me everything, and it's wonderful. So we have this whole rhythm now where she'll be like, okay, take a drink of water. So she'll tell me if somebody's taking a little longer over, paying or something, then I'll duck down and I'll grab my water bottle and I'll drink. And sometimes some of you have met me and you said, oh, do you have your water? Like, do you think you're going to catch me without water? I've always got my water there. It's just whether or not I get to drink it. So it's a lot of talking just like this. Oh my gosh, does this guy ever shut up? Well, it is a podcast, and I'm supposed to, if I didn't talk, what would it be? It'd be like this.
Come on, say something.
I know, that's what I'm saying.
That was annoying, man. There's dead space.
Dead air.
Airy dead.
Dead air. They call that dead air in radio. You don't ever want that. When I was a radio DJ, Hank, I would have nightmares of dead air, that I was on the air and then my mic wouldn't turn on and it would just be dead air, because that was like the big nightmare. Or that the CD was stuck and I couldn't get another one and I kept trying to get the CD player to, oh my gosh, I'm off on a tangent. Anyways, so I talked so much. My voice is very thin right now. You can hear it. So I can't really do like Mr. Announcer Guy very good, or some of the other voices right now, because my voice is so thin. From Arkansas, which was a beautiful, wonderful place. Everybody was so nice. We ate at a neat little restaurant that we found there a couple times, went in. But so Friday, we do all the talking and meeting and wonderful getting to know everybody and all that. But I kept feeling like, I get this every once in a while in these convention halls. I think it's just dusty and dirty and there's air conditioning and then there's just all the stuff stirred up. And then whatever was in that place from the time before too, right? Because sometimes there'll be like rodeos in these places. So you got like hay and everything. I remember in Nashville, we did the one earlier this year and my throat just terrible because of the air quality, because of, I think they had hay and stuff in there and I get hay fever. So this show was no different. That night we go back to the hotel room and I, wash my face and everything, do all that, get all cleaned up, wake up the next morning and I feel like I've swallowed like a baseball. It's just, my throat is just blah. And just my sinus is all and my face, I look at my face and my eyes, I had like these sagging, like drooping sag bags under my eyes because I had got this type of allergic reaction. It was all red. And then I had these huge bags under my eyes. Thank goodness I wear glasses that are big kind of glasses. They covered it up a little because I was thinking, I got to take pictures with everybody all day. So for the next couple of days, my eyes were a mess and I was dealing with this really kind of dried out sinus and everything from the allergens in there. And then several of us were as well. Ashley was affected by it. Her family was affected by it a little. Matt and I think his dad were a little as well. And my lovely wife, Allison, had done something to her hip and it was terrible. So we had a wonderful time on one hand. And on the other hand, we kept joking that we were all falling apart because it was just like, oh my gosh, is your sinus a mess? Yeah, my sinus is a mess. Oh, my hip hurts. Oh, my back. We were just a bunch of old. Hey, look at me. I'm getting old. So it was a great show, though. We met some wonderful people. I saw some great old friends and stuff and talked to people that I hadn't seen in a while. And that's always wonderful. But it was a great time. And then so we had flights getting back and we had to do like a stopover. So we flew in from there to Atlanta and then over to home. And they didn't have direct flights. So we had to do that, which is always just kind of an extra, bump in the road, right? You have to do that. So by the time we get home, I'm like, okay. And then I get home and I'm like, oh, maybe my allergies are calming down. And then the weather here changes to really, really hot after it had been really cold. And then the rain is coming today. So now I sound like this. So there you go. You're like, it's 15 minutes into the show, James, and you're just like explaining why you sound like it. Let's have some water. Come on.
It's time to drink some water. That's good water.
That is good water. So anyways, I'm not sounding the greatest, so I'm probably not going to do a lot of voices here today, but I'm just going to talk to you because I think that there's a lot of things in the world that we can cover. We can talk about all sorts of things. I talked a lot about the last time about some of the shows I'm working on and things that are kind of out of the bag now that I can talk about. Let's talk about things I'd like to be working on again. Here's the one thing people can keep asking, is there going to be another Ratchet and Clank? I don't know. I don't know these things. Will there ever be another Final Fantasy X, like 10-3? I don't know. I don't know these things. Will Obi-Wan ever come back in an animated series? I don't know. I don't know these things. Here's what I do know. Every once in a while, Obi-Wan shows up in some of the Lego stuff, and that's been great fun whenever that happens, and I hope that we get some more Lego Obi-Wan, but I hope we get some other... So this is what we'll do. Here's what I'm going to do, Hank.
Yeah, whatever, man. I wasn't listening. Were you still going on?
Okay. I'm going to talk about the things that I hope, I wish for in my career. How's that? That's fun. And then maybe the people that make this stuff are listening. I can't even say it. Can't.
No, you can't even say it. You were going to say maybe the people that listen, that watch, now I can't say it.
You were going to say that maybe the people that actually make this stuff are listening to the podcast, right?
You can't. There's not a chance they're listening to this show.
I know. But I can dream, right? I can dream that all the executives at all these places are listening to my podcast going, what does James think about it? Anyways, so here you go. For all of you that love, Ratchet and Clank and Star Wars and Final Fantasy and Ninja Turtles and all the things that I've been involved in for so many years, Johnny Test, all that stuff, I'm going to talk to you about what would be my dream. So my dream would be, if they did, in my perfect world, they would do a couple of things. Let's talk about, I was going to say Star Wars first, but Star Wars is always first. I want to show love to all the Ratchet and Clank people and the Final Fantasy people and all that. So Ratchet and Clank. If I had my way, we would be making a new Ratchet and Clank every year like we had been for so many years. Why? Because I'm selfish. I'm biased. I love it. It's fun. I hope that I still get to be the voice. You never know. You have to hold loosely to things in life. You just never know. It would be wonderful if they decide to do another Ratchet and Clank game. For those of you that played Rift Apart, you know that it is a tremendous achievement that they did. An amazing job they did in putting this fantastic world together of Ratchet and Clank, Rift Apart. And they got Jennifer Hale, who is a legendary voice actress, to play Rivet, who is the female Lombax version of Ratchet, which was really kind of neat. They did this kind of alternate universe thing, and it's very cool. So it's like there's two Lombax, which is fantastic, although they're kind of one and the same. So that's kind of a Twilight Zone side of it. But if indeed because I believe, no spoiler, well, kind of spoiler, I don't know, spoiler alert. The game, this is no surprise. The game kind of is set up for hopefully another one to come out because, they're not dumb. They know that they got to always set those things up. And I believe the game did really well. I believe people really loved the game, as they should. The game was fantastic. That took us like about 3 years to voice all of that. Chris Zimmerman was the director on that. She did a wonderful job recording and directing me through that whole thing. And, there was some stuff that happened on that game was interesting to me. They kept having me do my voice higher and higher and higher. And I think they think that as I get older, my voice gets deeper and so I don't sound the same. But I really, this is my voice. This is pretty much Ratchet right here. I mean, Ratchet is just right there. Ratchet is actually a little bit lower than my regular voice. If you go back and listen to the original Ratchet, Up Your Arsenal, Going Commando, and all those games, I'm actually talking probably right about in this area for Ratchet, which is lower than my regular voice. My regular voice is right up here, So I hope that we get to do another one. And I hope that David Kay and I get to resume our roles as Ratchet and Clank. We did a movie. We've done all sorts of stuff. I love the character of Ratchet. I hope someday, in my perfect world, it would be great to really explore. And like if there was a time travel way or something that Ratchet could go back and find all the Lombax and see himself as a baby and be like, whoa, Doc, this is heavy. It would be very cool. Wouldn't it be neat? I think it'd be very cool. So, but changing directions though, to other things, Star Wars. Okay, so, there was recently a Star Wars Clone Wars thing that was released about these lightsaber kits. They did send me one. They were very nice to send me, Ashley, and Matt one of these cases full of our lightsabers, and that was very cool. The only thing I'll say about that they should have done differently, because people have been bringing them to the shows already for me to sign and for Ashley and Matt to sign. They should have been, and Disney, I know you're listening. Yeah, sure they are. That's a good one. Thank you. I'm here all week. Is the plaque on the inside of the box? Next time, guys, make that removable. Like put two-sided tape on it and don't put the tape down on it. Don't like tape it to the door of it yet. Have it to where it's removable so fans can take just that tiny little nameplate and have all three of us sign it, because you left these big spots for us to sign. Then have that removable. Instead, you know what people have to do? They have to take this giant box to a Comic-Con. God bless these folks. These people did. We signed several of them in Arkansas. They did this giant box full of lightsabers, And then they have us sign the tiny little plate in the middle of the thing that's got our names on it, and our character names rather. And we sign it for them. We autograph for them because they left a space for us to autograph, and they're numbered. Just have that plate removable so people can then take it, get it signed, or send it to us and have us sign it, because I would love to sign them for you, and then send it back to you. And then, but now instead, no, you'd have to ship this entire box. Nobody's going to do that. That was very silly. Okay, I digress. Let's continue on. All right, so let's talk about Final Fantasy. What would be my big wishes, Hank? What do I hope for Final Fantasy?
Well, you hope you'll get the hi.
Okay, that was, yeah. You were doing the laugh, the Titus laugh.
The Titus laugh. I did the Titus.
Well, it's Titus, actually.
Yeah, but people say Titus. Oh, that's good water.
That was my water. What are you drinking my water for?
I don't know. It's good. Yeah, you say Titus.
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 Whatever. You can say either. You really can say either. But it's pronounced Titus. Okay. It's actually pronounced Titus. And I got to tell you, we had so many Final Fantasy X fans in Arkansas. And lately, there have been so many coming to the shows. Thank you all so much. You are awesome. The amount of people that are still affected by that game, all these years later, was it like 22 years, going on 23 years since I voiced that character. Wow, am I an old man now, I guess. But I still sound the same, right? Listen to my story. This may be our last chance. Hey, that music that you heard right there, keep it playing, Hank. That is done by my good friend Cooper Babbis. Cooper Babbis, very, very talented composer, and the son of two of my dearest friends in the world, Tom Babbis and Carrie Tombazian Babbis. Carrie Tombazian is a wonderfully talented voice actress. I've spoke about her many times here on the podcast. And then her husband, Tom Babbis, is an amazing actor, writer, director. I digress, but Cooper Babbis did that music. It's a sound-alike to Final Fantasy X. It's not the actual. If you listen to it, it's very close, but it's not actually. And that way I can use it without having to worry about rights and stuff. So that's how you do it. You do sound-alikes, just like me. I'm a sound-alike for many people. And Final Fantasy X, it is pronounced Titus. It has been so many years and so many wonderful people coming up and sharing their stories. I think some of the best stories I get are from Final Fantasy, where people came together. And now, it's not to say I don't get those from Star Wars. I do get them from Star Wars, people becoming couples and such. But I get more than ever. I get people that met over Final Fantasy X. And then I've had people bring their kids to cons to meet me because they go, we met on a Final Fantasy X chat room or something, and now you're here because of this guy's laugh. Not my laugh, I'm just kidding. But it's very fun to meet everybody, and the Final Fantasy fans are wonderful, and I thank you all for sticking with me all these years, and I hope to meet many more of you here throughout the next year or so as we go to some of the Comic-Cons and such. You know, I don't know how much longer I'll do the Comic-Cons. It depends. It really depends. I feel like it is wonderful to meet everybody, but I also don't want to wear out my welcome, if that makes sense, you know? So I will do what I can, and as long as I can, and as long as y'all want to see me, I'll come out and see you, I guess. And as long as Matt and Ashley want to do stuff too, because I love doing shows with them. The three of us just have a wonderful time at the Comic-Cons. So, okay, so what we were talking about, things that I wish. So I wish we would do another Final Fantasy X, like 10-3, they're calling it, or they would call it. Don't, nobody start quoting me. There's nothing going on as far as I know. I know nothing. I know nothing about a new Ratchet and Clank. I know nothing about a new Final Fantasy X. I know nothing about any Star Wars stuff. I know nothing. I'm just the guy they call at the end and go, do the voice. So people have been coming up to the table and they talk to me about Final Fantasy and if there was another one, what they would want. And I think one of the best ones was some folks have come up and said, and several people have come up and said this, why don't they do a prequel to it? Now, the only thing is they still got to use me as the voice as Titus, you know? Come on. Or Titus, you can call him whatever you want. Just bring me back, okay? I want to still be the voice. I can still do the voice, okay? See ya! Live and let live, okay? He's all right there. When I do this, see, I can still do the voice. I may be an old dude, but I can still do the voice. It's okay. It's all good. So as long as I still get called back to be Ratchet and Titus and Obi-Wan and Plo Koon, we'll talk about that in a bit too. Let's not forget Plo Koon. Then I'm happy. look, if they recast me, what can I do, right? But because that's the life of a voice actor, right? I've been recast in things. I've been the person that recast, whatever. But so in my perfect world, I would love that. I think it'd be really cool if they did like a prequel story for Titus and his dad. Wouldn't that be cool to kind of see the story there and how it all kind of came about? Plus, I don't know why Square make a game of Blitzball, just Blitzball on a standalone Blitzball game. How cool would that be, right? Just a Blitzball game and Titus playing Blitzball, and then bring in all the other Final Fantasy characters and have them trying to play Blitzball and Titus like mocking them for not. No, I don't. No, but like, I think it would just be so fun to have a Blitzball game because what a neat game that is. So at this last show in Arkansas, I signed several Blitzballs, but the coolest one was this young man that brought up, he came it up, and you can see it on my Instagram. There's a picture of him holding it, and then I did a close-up. He had this thing made through the, 3D printing? And it was beautiful, and it was perfect. It was just the right size. And I signed it in gold, and it was really cool. So anyways, I love all of that. I still am a fan of it all. I do hope that someday they come up with another one while I still have a voice and the ability to be a part of it. And so, there you go. But let's drink some water. Yeah, come on.
It's time to drink some water. That's good water.
It's good water. Okay. So many other things to talk about. Did we talk about Star Wars yet? No, we won't talk about Star Wars yet. We'll talk about what else? Johnny Test. Johnny Test, totally awesome. What's cool when I go to the shows, more and more people are coming up and having me sign the Johnny Test things. I think he's now been such a part of the zeitgeist. That's a big word. Look it up. That, people that thought he was obnoxious even, or the whip cracks and all this stuff, it's like, well, okay, you can't deny Johnny Test is, part of the culture. Pretty funny. Scott Fellows. I love him. The creator of Johnny Test, great guy. I love Scotty, and I love working with him. And I wish we did more Johnny Test episodes. We did like a reboot where we did 2 seasons. It was originally supposed to be 1 season. They said, it's going to be 1 season, and then they turned it into 2 seasons. And then they made an interactive movie. Now, I don't know if you've all seen this interactive movie. It's very cool. If you watch it, it's on Netflix, and if you watch it on a computer, you can then choose your own adventure with it. It's very cool. You should look into it and do it and watch it. A lot of people are like, I didn't like the reboot as much as the originals because of, I think the art's different and stuff. I think the art looks fantastic. And I think that here's the one thing. Here's Netflix, if you're listening.
Yeah, because the Netflix people are going to listen to your show.
I know. I could barely say it with a straight face. Netflix, if you're listening, here's where you went wrong. You did the new seasons of Johnny Test and the movie, but you made like a different category for them. So when people search Johnny Test, the originals pop up, but then those pop up in a different thing. They're not all together in one because you did a reboot. Now, I know the ins and outs, the real reason that I can tell you all why they did that. But I'm not. No. So here's the real reason. They wanted to make it a Netflix original. And there's many reasons why they want to make it a Netflix original. One of them is because then they don't have to pay me the same. But so you didn't hear that from me. Okay. Anyway, see, but so they made it a different, so there's like 2 different Johnny Test categories on Netflix. So for all of you that have watched Johnny Test on Netflix and all that for all this time, go and look for the new seasons, the reboot of Johnny Test, which is weird they call it a reboot because a reboot would generally mean you're going to get all these different people to do it and stuff. And it wasn't. It was all the same cast. It was all the same people. It was all the same writers, same director, same creator, everything the same. The theme song was different, but it had to be different because there were legalities with the other theme song. But anyway, so there you go. So Johnny Test, so on average on an episode of Johnny Test, I might do 3 to 4, sometimes 5 voices on the show. So I'll be a bunch of different characters on the show. So Johnny, who's totally awesome, and
Dark Vegan, I will get you, Johnny Test.
And Mr. Mittens, and many other. Hank Anchorman, the city of Pork Belly is under attack. So I did a lot of different characters on Johnny, and I love doing it. I love doing all the voices there. It's a lot of fun. It's quite a workout. It's quite, you talk about the Comic-Cons. Well, they don't talk about it. You talk about it. You're right. So I talk about the Comic-Cons being a strain on my voice. Doing, like a 2 to 3, sometimes 4-hour sessions of Johnny Test, depending on how many episodes we would do. We would do multiple episodes in a recording session. And so me talking like that, you talk about Ratchet. You talk about Ratchet. No, okay, so I talk about Ratchet and Clank. You talk about Ratchet and Clank voice going up higher. Johnny's voice is very high. That is totally, me up on helium. And so many hours of doing that and switching back and forth, it's quite a workout. But I'll tell you what, I may be old, but I can still do all the voices. So there you go. I guess that's the big lesson of this episode, right? Is that I can still do the voices. What else? I mean, what other things did like Plo Koon. I said we'd talk about Plo Koon. Well, Plo Koon, the funny thing still to me is we go to the Comic-Cons and I will mention Plo Koon, or people will come up to the table and we have all the pictures of all my characters and stuff, although I need to update some of them. And there's a bunch of pictures of Plo Koon and people will go like, you do Plo Koon? Like they don't know. So I have like a banner up and it's James Arnold Taylor and it's got my face and then it's got a bunch of the characters I do. And it is so wild when I go to these Comic-Cons and many of you come up to the table and you look and you see the banner and you had no idea I do all these characters, from Obi-Wan Kenobi to Jedi Master Plo Koon to Fred Flintstone to Johnny Test to Ratchet from Ratchet and Clank to Green Arrow, Spider-Man, Leonardo the Ninja Turtle. See, those are all pretty much just my regular voice. Titus. And so all of those. And then I am, who else? I don't know. I was thinking of somebody else just then, and then it just flew right out of my head. But people don't Hiccup from How to Train Your Dragon. So when Jay Baruchel is in Hiccup, I play Hiccup. And when Christopher Mintz-Plasse isn't Fish Legs, then I voice Fish Legs. Yes, and that's very cool. Just like I do King Gristle for him as well in Trolls. And then for Trolls, so I do Justin Timberlake's voice for Trolls, for Branch, Poppy. Come on. I don't want any more glitter, so I'm Justin Timberlake's double for that, as well as for Shrek, King Arthur, and Prince Charming. I'm Rupert Everett's double for that because I'm charming, you see. And then one that not a lot of people know, I'm Gingy the Gingerbread Man, not my Gumdrop Buttons. Do you know the Muffin Man? So Gingy in the movies is voiced by Conrad Vernon, who's actually a storyboard artist and writer and a director. And so he was part of that. So here's kind of my thing, for all the DreamWorks and Disney and all them, because I know you're all listening. Yeah. Well, you got to keep going with it. Of course they're listening. Yeah, that's hysterical. But anyways, they all, when they make like a Pixar movie or a DreamWorks movie and stuff, they all put their friends and family in the movies instead of hiring voice actors, which is kind of, annoying at times. I got to be honest. And so, Conrad Vernon, I believe I think he was a producer or something originally in the Shrek stuff. And then he did the voice of Gingy. And so sometimes he is Gingy and sometimes I am Gingy because, he's busy being a big shot director and all of that. So I do the voice of Gingy for a lot of different things, and a lot of people like that. Just like I did the voice for the Minions in the video games for Despicable Me. I was the voice of all the Minions in some of the games, but in the movies, it's actually the voices of the Minions are actually the directors of those films, and they pitch their voices up. And so, I could do it here because I'm in the studio. So if I want to talk Minionese, say for example, and I say, ooh.
Ooh, yeah, bata, ooh, banana, ooh, banana, yeah. I like that banana, ooh, no, bata, bata, yeah. Banana, ooh, na. James Arnold Taylor, ooh, no.
So it's like that. It's just gibberish, and my voice is pitched up through a processor. So when I go to the shows at the Comic-Cons and people are like, oh, do the Minion voice, and I'm like, when I do it like that, ooh. Banana, ooh, bada, no, baboy. And I do that. That's me pitching my voice up naturally, right? But in actuality, when I do the Minions voices any other time for the games, which it's been many years, they don't use me anymore. They use the guys, the real directors and stuff, because they realized, oh, we can make a bunch of money. But they would pitch my voice up when I did it. So I did it, like I did it for a time. That was years and years ago. But, I have been the voices of all the Minions in that too. So it's a weird little world, a weird little career that I've got to do a lot of voices and things in. So isn't that fun? So this has been fun, right? We've just kind of talked about some of the things that I do and that I like. And in my perfect world, there would be more of. Oh yes, sure, there would be more of many of the things I do. I think there should be a spin-off, Tales of the Jedi. Dave Filoni, if you're listening. Because, of course,
Yeah, that's a good one. Dave Filoni is listening to your show.
I know, he's too popular and big now. He's a bunch of big shot. Back in the day, though, he was just a regular person like all of us. But so he's not listening to the podcast. But yeah, back in the day when, he cast me as Plo Koon, and Plo was his favorite character. I hope he's still his favorite character. But Dave would tell us these wonderful stories of how Plo Koon found Ahsoka, because he was the one that found Ahsoka. And they hinted to it. They showed just a couple of seconds of it in the Tales of the Jedi. I wish they would do another full one, if you're listening, Dave. I know, that's hysterical. Of the story of Plo Koon, kind of raising Ahsoka, little baby Ahsoka and stuff. That would be a fantastic. You all would flip for that, wouldn't you? I mean, just like if they did, and I've been a big voice on this, and it's why it'll never happen, but of them also doing the story of the Duchess Satine and Obi-Wan when they first met. And they should use me and Anna Graves, because we could do the voices, because even though we're old, we can still do young voices. I could do a young Obi-Wan. Like, what would Obi-Wan sound like if he was much younger? Yes. It's not that far from what Ewan McGregor did. I have a bad feeling about this, Master. It's just making him younger. So wouldn't that be fun if they did a young Obi-Wan and young Duchess Satine? Because they weren't like kids. They were young. They were youngish. So this is Fantasyland episode of the James Arnold Taylor podcast, where I'm telling you all the things that I wish everybody would do. Right? So that's what I wish they'd do. I wish they'd take a little time, map out a little story. Look, it could be a 3-part episode, but I'd prefer it 6. And do a little story of how the Duchess and Obi-Wan met. You would go so far with the fan base. Am I right? You're all listening to this and you're shaking your heads. Some of you maybe even be screaming at the podcast going, yes, James, yes. Disney, if you listen to James, just listen to old Obi-Wan for a moment. Just make that episode. That'd be great. People would love that. Okay. I'm off my soapbox, but and then do some more Clone Wars. While I'm at it. If I'm on my wish list, yeah, do another, 7 seasons of Clone Wars. Nobody's going to be like upset about it. If you went, hey, you know what? We decided there's more stories to tell. We're going to do more stories of Clone Wars. Do you think anybody would be like, oh no, they're really, here they go again. That's not going to happen. People would be very happy about that. Okay. So anyways, what else? I don't know. What else Fred Flintstone. I'm not Fred Flintstone really much at all anymore. I think Jeff Bergman does most of Fred. And Jeff's very good. He's very, very talented. And he was Barney Rubble when I was Fred Flintstone. But I haven't yabba dabba dooed in a long time. But I can yabba dabba doo like the best of them. I was Fred Flintstone for many years for the Fruity Pebbles commercials and stuff. And then I knew the writing was on the wall. I think it's long enough now, and these people are never going to hire me again, so it doesn't matter. So I'll tell the story. You want to hear the story? You guys all want to hear the real story of how I lost the voice of Fred Flintstone? Wow, I'm going a little crazy on this episode. So I was doing the voice of Fred for many years, and Henry Corden, God bless him, he was the voice. So Alan Reed was the original voice of Fred Flintstone, and then when Alan passed away, Henry took over for him. Henry was the natural choice because Henry was Alan's singing double, because whenever Fred Flintstone sang on the original Flintstones episodes, it was actually Henry Corden doing the singing, because Henry was a wonderful singer, and Alan couldn't really carry a tune like that. He was a little tone deaf in that way. He couldn't sing. So anytime you heard Fred Flintstone, it was Henry Corden. So Henry Corden was a natural choice voice to replace Alan Reed when Alan passed away in the 70s for the voice of Fred Flintstone. Henry Corden was the voice of Fred Flintstone for about 30 plus years. Then Henry was having some issues, some health issues and such, and he knew he needed to retire from doing the voice. And they did a worldwide, well, not worldwide, but a United States-wide search for the new voice of Fred Flintstone. There were thousands of people that auditioned for the voice of Fred Flintstone all over the country. And then they narrowed it down to 30. Then they narrowed it down to 7. Then they narrowed it down to 3. And I was one of those people. Very fortunate. And so then I come in and I read with Henry Corden. I've told this story. It's in the movie. I know that voice, and it's in other places. And Henry and I were in the booth together, and Alice, who was the director, who was a lovely gal, but she couldn't get past the way I looked. And she kept looking at me through the glass, and she said, he's not. And so my friend Voter, who was the engineer, he kept the button pushed down so I could hear what was going on in the other room, because I see them talking. And he kept it down so I could hear, which was very nice. And I hear her go, "He's not deep enough." And Voter, actually, to his credit, goes, "Actually, he's deeper than Henry." And she goes, "Well, he's not this, that, he's not that," or whatever. Henry is now hearing this because he's in the booth as well, and he can hear what's being said. And he says, "Would you stop looking at him and listen to him?" Right? And to Alice's credit, she says, "You're right, Henry, you're right." So she did the rest of the audition with her eyes closed. And then Voter would play the clips. And what they would do is they would play Henry lines from old commercials where he was doing Fred's voice. "Post for each Pebble cereal, part of a good breakfast. Yabba-dabba-doo." And then I would say, "Post Fruity Pebble cereal, part of a good breakfast. Yabba-dabba-doo." And then it got to the point where they would record me. They would play Henry. I would say the lines, and they would do that. They would play it back, and Henry's wife and the director were in the booth, or in the control room, and Henry and I were still in the booth, and they would close their eyes, and Voter would play both, and they got to the point where they couldn't tell the difference between me or Henry. And at that point, I thought maybe I got a good chance for this. And it was between me and Fred Tatasciore, who is a dear friend of mine. I love Freddie Tatasciore, who's a big guy. He looks more like, he could be Fred Flintstone, and his name's Fred. But I even beat Fred Tatasciore. And then there was a third person, and Freddie and I both don't know who that third person was. But anyways, so I was the voice of Fred Flintstone for many years. I loved doing it. And Jeff Bergman was the voice of Barney, and we would do the commercials. And I was very specifically doing Henry's version of Fred Flintstone, who was a little more Jackie Gleason. It was a little more raspy. There was a little more of that. But Alan Reed's voice, I've told this, it's on my YouTube channel. I tell the stories. Alan Reed's voice was a little more smooth. He was all right in there. Wilma, Bonnie, oh, brother, Oh, yeah, so it was all right in there. That's Fred Flintstone. So I combined them. So I took a little of that and a little of that, and I combined them into my Fred Flintstone, which was right about there. And so I got to do Fred for many different things for many different years, and I was very, very blessed. And what I loved about being the voice of Fred Flintstone is if you've ever met me or seen me in person or on whatever, I'm 5'4" and I'm about 118 pounds. So the beauty of that, and I'm blonde hair and blue eyes, I look like Barney Rubble. The beauty of being a voice actor is that I could be Fred Flintstone. And so that's what I loved about being Fred Flintstone. And I'll say you this, one of the reasons why I really wanted to be Fred Flintstone was the Flintstones was my sister's favorite cartoon growing up. She loved the Flintstones. And I wanted to be able to call my big sister and say, "Yabba-dabba-doo, I'm Fred Flintstone now." And that was beautiful and fun, wonderful. So I got to be Fred for many years, and then Post Cereal, the makers of the Fruity Pebbles, they changed advertising agencies after 30 years. And doing all those old commercials, "Barney, my pebbles," and "Watch me trick Fred into getting his pebbles," I do a pretty good Barney. So they changed advertising agencies because the world was changing and they wanted to get, kids to eat their sugar-filled cereal. Oh, did I say that out loud? Sorry. And they changed agencies, and the new agency decided they wanted to audition new people for the voice of Fred. So I had to re-audition for my own job that I had had for, like 8 years. And then I got the job. They auditioned all these people again, and all my friends call me and go, they're reading for Fred again. Yeah, I know. And they ended up using me still. And so then I go in and I recorded all of these from home because they were based in New York and I was here. And I could tell that the director didn't like me. I could just tell he wanted more Alan Reed. And I was still paying homage to Henry, who had recently passed away. He was my mentor in the voice of Fred Flintstone for many years. He and Gordon Hunt, and both of them were wonderful people. Gordon had directed a lot of the Flintstones things with Henry for all those years. And I went to Gordon Hunt's house and I did the voice and I trained with him and trained with Henry. And so I was really trying to still pay homage to Henry's version of Fred as well. And these guys wanted just, Alan Reed, original Fred Flintstone. So I would do that, but in their head, I don't think I sounded enough like him. So I had a 2-hour set. I think I have it on video somewhere too. I should try to pull the video of this and put it up on my YouTube now because it's been so long now. It's been so many years. It's been at least, 12 years probably since I did this. And again, these people will never hire me again. So what does it matter, right? And it's fun to tell stories. So we had a 2-hour session, I kid you not, of me saying yabba dabba doo for 2 hours. These people had me going, yabba dabba doo. And then, no, yabba dabba, emphasize the do more. No, emphasize the yabba, emphasize the dabba. So when you do commercial work, and again, I'm going to say this because nobody hires me for commercial work. Since the commercial strike, the Screen Actors Guild commercial strike of many years ago, and it's just, ever since that strike, they never went back to it. They rarely hire union actors to do commercial voiceover nowadays. And then when they do, they hire celebrities. They pay them millions of dollars. And us voice actors who used to get our bread and butter and made our insurance and made our living and all of that, our pensions getting paid from doing commercial work, we lost tons and tons of work doing commercial work when that happened. So it's not out of school for me to say, when you do the ad agencies, when they hire you for these, they go, well, we're paying them, and a commercial might be, $500 or something for the day, right? Or $300 or something like that. We're paying them all this money for the day. We get them for 4 hours. Let's use the full 4 hours. And they make you say things so many different times, so many different ways. We used to spend hours, post Fruity Pebble cereal, part of this good breakfast. Chocolatey, it's a chocolatey, delicious breakfast. And they say, emphasize chocolate, emphasize just the cha in the chocolate or the ocklet. Or, it was insane how much they would go over this stuff and make you so. 2 hours of me saying yabba dabba doo. And I thought, the writing is on the wall. These people hate me. They're never going to hire me again. They bring me back in for another session. And there's what they call a scratch track. And the scratch track is, a temporary track while they build the animations and stuff and do those to kind of show the client, okay, here's what it's going to look like. Here's what the commercial is going to look like. It's like an animatic, it's a sketched out version of, not a fully animated version of what the commercial is going to look like. And they use what they call temp voices, scratch voices, temporary voices. And it's usually just like, the writers or the producers, the director or somebody just doing like, and then Fred will go, yabba dabba doo, and they don't try to sound like them much. But sometimes, every once in a while, you get a would-be aspiring voice actor to do the scratch track, trying to get your job. And so they're playing me the scratch tracks of what they want for these commercials. And it's this kind of thing like this. It does not sound like Fred Flintstone. And they get to the point where they go, can you just try to sound like the scratch? And I go, what do you mean? Like, I've been hitting the emphasis the way the scratch. They said, no. Can you try to sound like the scratch? And I said, well, I could, but it doesn't sound like Fred Flintstone. Because it didn't. It didn't sound like Fred Flintstone. It sounded like somebody that thinks they're a voice actor trying to do a bad impression of Fred Flintstone. And that's what it was, right? And it's really annoying when you are a voice actor that is doing a voice match or a double or a character, especially a famous character, and you have somebody else playing you something that isn't them, but trying to sound like them. It really is hard because it throws your brain off. You're like,
I'm trying to sound like Fred Flintstone over here,
and they got a guy doing this over here trying to do like post Fruity Pebble cereal. And then your brain's going, okay, so what do I do? And now all of a sudden it's Hank. Hello, post Fruity Pebble cereal. That's what it is, right? And I said, it doesn't sound like Fred Flintstone. And there's this long pause. And I realized I offended somebody. Turns out the scratch track was the director. And I think he was vying for the job because I think he ended up getting the job after me. That was the last time they called me, and I was no longer Fred Flintstone. And I remember they were then recasting. And I called them and I said, you should use Jeff Bergman. Jeff does an amazing Fred Flintstone. He sounds just like Alan Reed. Use him. And they did not know what to do with that because, for one, I was telling them, I acknowledge the fact that you're recasting me. And they're like, well, no, I mean, it's like, no, it's fine. You're firing me. I get it. I'm a big boy. I got my big boy pants on and I understand how the world works. You don't want me as the voice. That's fine. So use at least somebody that's going to sound like Fred Flintstone. And they didn't take my advice. They didn't use Jeff Bergman, although Jeff has done Fred for a lot of other things. I don't think he does them for the commercials, though. I think they have somebody else. Whoever they're doing now is fine, whatever. I don't know if they do. It's nothing against anybody. The last person I heard sounded somewhat like him. And, it's fine. It's fine. But I thought it was a funny story, and now I've shared it here, and now it's public, and people will take this and put it all over and say James Arnold Taylor smashes or trashes them. I'm not. I'm telling you what happened, how I lost a job. Okay, it happens. We lose jobs. We get jobs. We lose jobs. There's a very, 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 very important and dear job to me that I do right now that I've been told I'm no longer going to be doing within the coming months, that I've been let go of. And I can't say what it is at this point. I'm not going to say what it is, but I'll say on this podcast right now that when it happens and I no longer am that voice, I'll talk about it. But I've gotten word that I'm going to be let go from another job soon, another voice soon. And it's one I've been doing for actually multiple decades. And it's very sad, but it's going away. And so, that happens though. You get jobs. Look, I remember when I lost the job as Captain Jack Sparrow for Johnny Depp. When I had my voice due to black toxic mold poisoning, I couldn't get the same resonance anymore. It was for a time, and they let me go and they hired somebody else. And I was no longer the voice of Jack Sparrow and haven't been since then. But I was Captain Jack Sparrow for many years before that. And I've of course done things for Johnny Depp since then, for other things, Mad Hatter and Willy Wonka and all of that, and other little movie lines here and there for just his regular speaking voice right there, right? But, you lose jobs sometimes. And that's the way it is. So, yeah, it was kind of funny to me, though, 2 hours of saying yabba dabba doo and then saying to the director, well, that doesn't sound like Fred Flintstone. And then it was him. I offended him. And so, that's what my version of the story is. They could tell me it's maybe different. They go, no, we just didn't like you. You were not good. And maybe I wasn't good. I was overthinking it so much because I knew they didn't like me. That's the other thing. Sometimes you get into a booth and you just don't know. Here, let's drink some water. You don't know, especially when you're doing a voice double, and you don't know whose ears are going to be listening to you. Because I can go in to do, I can do Hiccup from How to Train Your Dragon, and if it's a different director, they may go, well, that doesn't totally sound like the way Jay would say it, but, it's there kind of. And so, or Captain Jack Sparrow or whoever. I'm not saying that happened. I'm just saying every time you go in to do somebody's voice, whether it be I do Branch for Justin Timberlake or Gingy or whomever, you got a new director and then they have to kind of train their ears to your version of that character. Because again, I'm not going to be an exact match. I'm going to be as close as I possibly can. That's the thing about me as a voice double, is I do my best to sound as close as physically, mentally, whatever possible I can to Ewan McGregor or Johnny Depp or Michael J. Fox or Christopher Lloyd or Christopher Walken or David Spade or Paul Reiser or whomever I'm doubling for, right? And that's what you do. You just do your best, and then you have these vocal cords that you try to morph and change and turn into. So I've been very blessed to have a career of doubling. I've doubled so many people. I truly have lost count of how many people in Hollywood I've doubled the voices for in movies and trailers and games and toys and TV shows and radio campaigns and different things. I mean, everybody from, Bill Murray to Christopher Lloyd, Christopher Walken, all in between, I've done voices for. And every once in a while, someone will go, nope, you don't sound like them. And you know what? Sometimes they're probably right. Some days you wake up and you just can't get a particular voice. So my wish was Fred Flintstone. Yeah, I would have loved to have done more Fred Flintstones. I would have. I'll tell you, the money was fantastic doing those Fruity Pebble commercials. Those were fantastic. That was back in the day when you could get a commercial campaign and you could make a lot of money. That could cover your insurance and your pension and your salary for the year if you had a decent commercial campaign on something. And those days are kind of gone now for voice actors, especially for somebody my age. I'm an old dude now, and they don't want old dudes like me anymore for stuff. So, people are like, oh, amazing, James Arnold Taylor, you're a legend. You've worked in all this. It's like, thank you. I've been incredibly blessed to work so much, and I'm so grateful. But the phone don't ring the way it used to. So with that in mind, let's wrap it up. I didn't want this to sound like I'm bitter. I'm not bitter in any way of losing any of the voices that I do or anything. I'm extremely grateful. So please, everybody listening, please don't take it like I'm bitter. I'm not. I like the fact that here on the James Arnold Taylor podcast, we're part of the JAT Fellowship. Had somebody at a show the other day say, oh, I'm part of the fellowship. Thank God. Bless you all. Where I can just kind of share with you the inside stories of some of the things that have happened in my life of being a voice actor. And, so I shared with you the story of how I lost the job of Fred Flintstone. And, it's funny. I hope it doesn't ruffle any feathers, but that's how it happened, I told you the way I got the job. It was unexpected that I was the least likely guy to get the job. So I was probably, the most likely guy to lose the job when I finally did. It's like, and maybe it's that whole, what do they call it? The imposter syndrome. I'm 5'4" and 118 pounds and I look nothing like, and my regular voice sounds nothing like Fred Flintstone. So maybe the whole time I was imposter syndroming, going like, I shouldn't have this job. So anyways, that's how I lost the job of Fred Flintstone. It's fun to tell the stories. And it's fun to talk about the things that I hope and wish would happen. And this was a little more edgy. This was edgy James today. I got to kind of tell you all the stories because I know that none of those people listen to this stuff anyways. So, but all of you listen, and I am so grateful for all of you. I love y'all, and God bless y'all. And we're coming back with more episodes here. Going to have one or two more, and then we're going to end the season with my lovely wife, Allison, and that'll be coming up soon too. Plus, I am building out a video podcast studio in my space here at the JAT Studios. And so I'm going to be putting some more videos out soon too. So be looking for that. And thank you for hearing me vent and go on and on. I don't know. I may end up cutting all of this out. Who knows? But there you go. Another episode of the James Arnold Taylor podcast in the books. Let's drink some water one last time while we bring in Mr. Announcer Guy.
Talking to Myself, the James Arnold Taylor podcast is a production of Yumigo Inc., recorded at JAT Studios. Engineered, written, recorded, and produced by, you guessed it, James Arnold Taylor. All voices are parody and should be construed as entertainment only. All music and sound effects used with permissions and licenses through Backtracks, Digital Juice, Production Tracks, and Partners in Rhyme. James Arnold Taylor's Talking to Myself, the podcast. Copyright 2024, all rights reserved.
Ooh, that's good water, and that's good legal mumbo jumbo there, Mr. Announcer Guy. Thanks, man.
You got it, dude.
Are you going to go now?
No, I might as well hang out while you still are here.
Okay, well, we can both go, because it's time to leave, because the show's over, all right?
Yeah, dude.
Yeah, dude. Okay, everybody. God bless you all. Be well. And thanks for listening to JAT. Come back. Spread the word. But don't spread it to any of the people I talk to stories about. Okay. All right. Take care. Goodbye.
Goodbye.
Oh, that's good.